Hey everybody, welcome to The Process. I'm Chris on a very special late night edition. We are talking to Yo Santosa, a woman with many titles, the founder and creative director of several companies, four and counting, Ferroconcrete, Commodity, Fruit, and LA Downtowner. Stick around because we're going to be talking about branding, how you can learn from it, how businesses can improve their customer retention with branding, and building personalities. Stick around. Let me try this again.
I want you guys to listen to me.
Yeah.
I design sandwiches. My name is Jose Caballero, and I talk about the business of design. I talk about a lot of stuff.
My name is Chris Doe, and I talk about the business of design.
At the center of this operating system, it's about understanding.
Jose, can we just tell them what the show title is?
I hate you, dude.
You are watching The Process. You guys did a great job. We are packed here, a whole bunch of people. I'm sure they have a bunch of questions, and so the audience has been instructed to ask questions. Then there's no holds bar here with the show, right? Let's start at the beginning in case people aren't familiar with you, Yo. First of all, you prefer Yo, and your full name is?
Yo.
Excellent. Your background is in graphic design. You went to Art Center. Mm-hmm. Just give us the really brief history. How did you get Ferroconcrete started?
Graduated from Art Center and then went to work for a branding agency really quick, 2 weeks. Didn't like it. Went to work in motion graphics for 5.5 years, and then happened to be lucky to find out that the owners of Pinkberry are looking for an agency. My friend told me about it. I tried it, loved it, so I pitched an idea that Saturday and then got the project, and then I quit my job and started Ferroconcrete.
Nice. Now, I happen to know the story, so there's a little bit more detail, and I think you just skipped over some of it. Yo wanted to pitch the new business, so she took some time off. Did you take vacation or personal days? What did you do?
Vacation time.
So she took some vacation time, worked on her deck, got the job, and then quit. And that's a pretty genius way of doing it. Minimize the risk. If she didn't get it, she might have quit anyways, but who knows? And the rest is history, I suppose. What is branding? How do you define it? And maybe the most important question is, why does it matter for businesses? So take it away. What is branding to you?
For me, branding is very personal. As a kid, I remember my mom was, we were shopping for toys, and then she said, here's two, I wanted Lego, so here's Lego, this box, it was tiny, and then she's like, hey, it's a China version, and it's huge, and it's the same price. You can get this one or this one. I said, no, I'll take the small one. So as a kid, I already knew what brand is. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's just something about it that's like visceral. It's just gut instincts. And as I grew older, I think teenager, I remember I just love window shopping. But I just love looking at items on the shelves and like asking myself, why was I attracted to this? Why am I not attracted to this? Eventually, why I wanted to do branding, because everything is just instincts. And it's like sometimes when you look at products, you look at things, it's like something is pulling your brain back and forth and your emotion, but you don't know what it is. It's all just like invisible threads. Right. And it's just so interesting.
Okay. Do you know what that invisible thread is, the forces that work?
It's how a brand speaks, how a brand looks, what it stands for, and how honest and transparent they are as a company. There's also have to be some aspects of like being good. How the product itself have to be amazing, obviously. You can't brand something that's just silly. Inherently, you start with what it is at the core, which is the tone, how does it speak, the personality, the emotions that it's trying to get you to feel.
There's something that Simon Sinek talks about in that we trust people and companies that believe what we believe. Mm-hmm. So they're speaking to your gut, and your gut doesn't actually have words to describe it. And you describe it as instinct, and that's what they're tapping into. Mm-hmm. The reason why you buy Apple over another product or company, even though they're more expensive and probably don't even have the best features, is because you believe what they believe in, or they believe what you believe in, so you feel a connection. Mm-hmm. And that gets into this whole like tribes that we belong to. If I'm a Harley rider, or if I'm a Honda guy, or an Acura guy, or a Mercedes guy, it says something about me, and the things that we buy says something about us.
Right.
I imagine as a little girl, you didn't want the off-brand Lego product because maybe you felt like it was counterfeit, and then you would be a counterfeit, and you don't want these knockoffs, right? Uh-huh. Probably why you like brand name fashion, certain things of that nature, even though they're similar products, because you believe what they believe in.
Yep.
Okay, and so the amazing part of this is I'm really analytical. I'm the opposite of you. you do things through instinct and your gut and emotion and whatever. For me, I have to decode it, put into categories, and put a 1 or a 0 next to it.
Wow.
And so I've admired your work for a really long time.
Thank
and
you.
I've been reverse engineering it for quite some time.
Yikes.
So I want to learn a little bit more about how you do what you do. But before we jump into it, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how, at least from my point of view, people use the word brand all the time. I need a new brand. But what they really mean is I need a new identity or a logo. And how even big firms say we're a branding firm, but what they really are, they're an identity systems designer. They design the entire identity system, the color palettes, how it's going to roll out on airplanes and trucks and all that kind of stuff. But they really don't do any messaging. Is that branding?
It's part of branding. I would say that's one of the, not one step below, but it's something, it's one of the channels.
One of the facets?
Yeah, one of the facets of branding.
Okay. So you say it's one of the facets, so I want a like harder line answer, like yes or no.
Would you
So
say
companies that design identity systems, would you consider them a branding firm? Nobody's watching this, don't worry.
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, yes.
What?
No.
No or yes? Come on, you can't have both.
Well, I don't know. Well, certain.
You want a lifeline?
Yes, I want a lifeline.
Let's ask the audience. What do you guys think? If a company designs amazing, beautiful identity systems, some of the biggest in the world, is that branding? What's your understanding of branding? Is an arm a part of your body? Is an arm a human being?
No.
How's your logic now? No? I don't believe logos are brands. That's not branding at all. It's a mark. It's an identity system. Marty Neumeier's definition of brand is a person's gut feeling about a product, service, or an organization. It's a feeling. It's not a mark. It's all of these things, but it's not that thing. So let's think about that. If I can do a public service for the world of designers, please do not confuse a logo as a brand. A brand has to have a voice, a personality, has touch points, right? Because you're not buying the Apple logo, you're buying everything that the company stands for. And how do they do that? They did that through things like Think Different, where they showed pictures of Einstein, of Kitty Hawk? Or I don't know, of
The Wright brothers.
the Wright brothers, or Martin Luther King. People who thought different. And we see ourselves as artists to go against the mainstream as nonconformists. That's why we identify with Apple. And until they totally royally screw it up, I'll be a diehard Apple fanboy to the day I die, and so will my kids. Let me hit you up with another question then. People that have seen your work, where should they go to see your work?
Ferroconcrete.com
Or
yosantosa.com.
And they're on the branding train. They want to get positioning right. How do they approach this? If I was just trained in graphic design, and you even said this at the beginning of the show, which was, I wasn't trained to do this, but somehow you figured it out. So give us some tips as designers who want to elevate our game from being not just an identity system designer, but a brander. What do I need to do?
I think you always have to start by understanding who they're trying to target, who's the customer, and really understand what do those people like, what are their hobbies, or what are they visually attracted to. Knowing all those things, it's almost like, for me, the way I look at branding is you're just a matchmaker. You're trying to make two things fall in love with each other. So if you're creating this person, whether it's, okay, I'm saying this is going to be a girl, she's going to be bubbly, optimistic, she's going to talk to you like this, she's going to wear stuff like this, and you know you're going to attract these kinds of people. So it's like, for me, it's as simple as that. It's like understanding how one person can, you go out there, you put them clothes on them, you make them look good, you say speak like this, talk like this, and then like talk to them about what they believe in, and then make sure that they communicate that to the customer or the person they're trying to fall in love with. And then if that actually everything goes well, then they're gonna fall in love with each other.
You guys understand that? I like that. That was a good metaphor. So you see branding as matchmaking. So you can't change the person, meaning the customer. So you can only change the brand.
Yes.
And you want to make them as attractive to the person and find compatibility so they can fit and so they can have this kind of glorious relationship with each other. That's how you make people fall in love. But so how do you do that? So do you profile people? Do you profile your customers? Like, how do you learn about who your customers are? And how do you translate that into messaging, colors, fonts, look and feel, that kind of thing? How do you do that?
It's usually, for me, it's still, everything is still starts with words and before it goes to anything visual. So I usually the clients would provide, this is the demographic, they're 35 to 55 or women, or and after that, it's mostly, for me, it's looking online and reading what people actually say about the current brand, because it gives me a lot of clues. When they say, this is why I love this brand, this is why I buy this thing, it gives me a lot of clues, and I pick up words from it, and put everything in an email. That's what I love to do. And then I'll start putting in other thoughts on top of it. Like, so this, if this, I'm trying to understand how I even work.
Hey, this is a special treat then. She's doing this for the first time ever. That's pretty cool. We're going to charge you a ticket.
Easy.
It's not easy. Jose suffers from the exact same problem, actually.
But it all starts, for me, it all starts with words, just putting things together. And then sometimes certain words are just like, oh, it's plain Jane. Let's go to thesaurus and say, how many different ways can we say this word? And then once you find a beautiful word, you start thinking, these beautiful words conjure up all these different kinds of imagery. Then you start looking at imagery. So it's almost like a web process where, like a spider web. You start with words, and then you come up with better words, you come up with more words, and you have a whole page of words. And the idea is to simplify, 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 simplify. There is no point in having a 5-page Word document at all. What you want is a paragraph. If you get a paragraph right, and then it actually inspires visual imagery out of that, then I think you've come up with something that's solid.
So you've introduced something that I've not done myself, which is you go and read reviews of the brand and product. Where are you going? Like
Facebook.
Amazon, Facebook?
Oh, no, it's more about how people talk about the brand. So not reviews about the product, but how people talk about the brand.
Okay, so if the client is, say, like Adidas, because I like Adidas, you would just go on to Facebook, look up the Adidas page, and see what people are saying.
See what people are saying, go on blogs, what people are saying, go on Instagram, all those things. I think it's more about listening to what people are saying when they think the brand is not listening.
You really basically just described Marty Neumeyer's definition of a brand.
Really?
It's a person's gut feeling about a product or service. So you're reading the sentiment through Facebook, through Instagram, through blog, like you said, when they're not listening. Because it doesn't matter then what the logo looks like. It doesn't matter what the colors look like. It really depends on how people feel. So that's one clue there. That was great. I love that. Now I'm going to challenge you a little bit. It's my job. You said you look for words and you go to the thesaurus and you want to look for a beautiful word. What is a beautiful word to you?
Beautiful word. I think something, for me, it could be something that's witty, could be something that's very visual. Certain words are very visuals,
like
right?
What?
Visual. I can't think of right now. Chocolate? I don't know.
Because
it's right
That's
there.
Great. Yeah, chocolate. Chocolate's a visual word, I suppose. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because if
great.
you think about something that describes something, there's just so many words you could choose to describe the same thing. And then it's just finding what's beautiful within those things.
Now, are you a native English speaker?
No.
No. So you're looking up English words, or what?
English
what other
words.
language do you speak?
Indonesian, but only
Indonesian?
only to 10-year-old grade Indonesian.
So here's the thing. I'm not a native English speaker, and by looking around the room, there's only a handful of people here, as far as I can tell, that English is their first language. One thing personally that I find so fascinating about English is there's so many words to describe a particular meaning in so many nuanced ways. It's hot, it's tepid, it's boiling, it's all these words, and choosing that right word, that in your parlance, a beautiful word. These are things I talk about my students all the time. And understanding the difference between paranoia and fear, that's really to have that understanding and then to be able to drive that through in a visual concept. Okay, so now we know, read the reviews when the brand isn't listening. Find a beautiful word, something that's witty, that's visual, that's super precise and clear, because that drives everything. And lastly, Write a paragraph that has meaning. I'm tired of reading brand strategy from companies that it means nothing. It's like a light, fluffy cloud. I can't do anything with it. It doesn't look like anything, it doesn't sound like anything. But for some reason, companies pay a lot of money to do that. It makes them feel safe. They use buzzwords. So there's a warning for you right there. If your brand statement is fluffy words that are just, all on Wired or the buzzy marketing jargon, that's a warning sign. It has to start to sound like maybe something real, maybe like
something
a person.
a real person would say, exactly.
And it has beliefs in it.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. That was really helpful. Anybody have any questions so far?
How do you handle when a client may not understand their own clients, or I'm sorry, their own customers. And also, like when maybe they're probably 10 years behind the curve, and you're trying to give them a future look, and they're really based maybe 2000, 2015. That's something we really struggle with.
Great question. So let me just restate in case that didn't make the audio clip. How do you work with clients who may be behind the curve and don't have an understanding of future customers? How do you deal with that? Because I'm sure our audience comes across that all the time. And this was a charged question, so this one might explode on us. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think Chris should answer this one.
For the record, these the opinions expressed by Yo are hers and hers alone. Go ahead. Yeah?
Well, it's always good to show another example. Here's a company who, before the rebrand, was this big, this many customers, and here's what happened after they did rebrand. Even though they think they didn't need it, but suddenly they opened up their customer base to this other demographic. So I think people always like stories. People always like to hear success stories, and if you can give some anecdotes that relates to what their concerns are, I think that would be helpful.
What you're saying is you need to have, in part of your bag of tricks, your arsenal of debate, case studies. It's used in law, it's used everywhere, business case studies, so that you can talk about it. You want to talk to a business person, you need to learn their language. So what I would say, Michael, is let's stop talking about graphics, colors, aesthetics, those kinds of things, because those things are highly subjective, right? You could show me something and you could say, this is really cool, Chris. And I could say, no, it's not. That's so 2013. And then we can have a debate about it. Let's talk about real things. Here's a very clear difference between two companies positioned in a very similar place. Target and Kmart. Two companies that are mass consumer goods. One has a brand where you would go to because they have really sometimes quality design work for not any more money. And then I remember growing up as a kid, because we were poor, Kmart, I didn't want to be seen at Kmart. But Target, on the other hand, now that's cool, right? So you need to cite case studies to help your clients understand in terms that they appreciate. And usually the terms they appreciate is bottom line, market share, revenue, new markets, innovation. So let's learn to talk the language of business, okay? You're going to say it? All right, go ahead.
Can I add something?
Short.
I had a client, same issue. I bought the Harvard Business Review, which I love, and I started leaving it in their magazine rack in the office. And eventually he started actually reading it, and he actually subscribed. And now he started telling me what he needed to do. I didn't even have to tell him.
So what is that called? That's like a Trojan horse inception? What did you just do there?
Is that Inception? Yeah.
It is Inception.
Influence.
Influence.
He didn't believe me, but he believed the Harvard Business Review.
It's totally true. Go ahead.
You're getting paid to give him, this advice. Why does he not believe you? That's also something we struggle with.
Oh my God, this is another show. Hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. That's a great question though.
It's a great question.
It's like, why pay somebody not listen to them? I'll tell you why in a second. There is a thing about credibility. Harvard Business Review, you've heard of that school, Harvard. Jose Caballer, they could say the same thing, right? And I had this exact same argument with Jose. I'm like, Jose, this is the future. I talked to him. He's like, no. And then I said, this famous person said, okay, you're right. Yeah. I just said the same thing. I could have totally lied to you. You know what I'm talking about. We won't mention that. But he was like, yeah, you're right. Just instantly like that. So a lot of it has credibility. So when you say something from you, it sounds like it's self-serving. You don't have to take my word for it. Read it in the Wall Street Journal. Read it in the New York Times. Dr. XYZ from Fortune 200, 100 companies said this. It's up to you now, man. Right? So unfortunately, as designers, we've been trained too much to talk about design, graphics, and color and those kinds of things. You're losing that argument every single time, I'll tell you that. Because if you ever hire a creative person and they do work for you, they'll tell you your ideas are stupid, that you're old, that you're lame, that you don't know what the new hotness is, right? That Helvetica's passe. What are you going to do? You're going to argue with them? You're like, you're just some dumb punk kid who's going to tell me what the aesthetics are. But that's what you sound like to the other person. But let's move on. We're here to talk about branding. I'm not here to vent. Okay. So I think we touched upon this a little bit, but tell me a little bit about your secret sauce. How do you give brands personality?
Secret sauce? I just
Come on,
said
man.
it.
How do you give them personality?
Make them fall in love with each other.
But how?
But how? Well,
Here,
Whiskey?
I'm a boring commodity. I'm a marker. Sell me this pen. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
How do you give this marker personality? Uh-oh.
Well, who is it trying to attract?
I don't know. Let's say it's trying to attract people like Jose, because he loves Sharpie. What would you do? How do you give it personality? Take us through the process.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Come
Hold
on, man. The internet wants to know. How do you do it? Maybe share a case study. It could be something that you've done or something you see and you admire, because you're in this space. We want to hear from you.
Let's say LA Downtowner. Can I talk about LA Downtowner?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Let's just say.
Let's just say.
Go ahead.
So, I've been living in downtown for 13 years. This was before downtown was even like safe to live in.
Not
But
cool,
anyway.
just safe.
But anyway, so I've been living in downtown for that long, and I've seen the change that it has happened in downtown. Apartments are like popping up, restaurants, businesses, shopping malls, and for me, what was missing was something that to give the downtown a voice. That it's actually a cool place to live in. That it has changed from what it was 13 years ago. That it's something you need to celebrate, and so besides the point, that was the brief. That was the brief. Right? Let's say that's the brief. How do we design something like that? First, we came up with the name, LA Downtowner. We came up with a few other names. I can't remember what it is now, but there's something about LA Downtowner that's so simple. It's memorable. It has a sense of pride. So we went with that name. And then the other thing is the logo. We wanted...
What other names did you come up with? I'm just curious.
I can't remember right now.
Not one?
Not one. It was just, for me, it was instinct. Like, shut up! What's that? I can't remember.
That's her management
just right.
style.
Yeah. When I'm really happy with someone's work, I kick their chair. I'm like,
Good job.
good job.
Shut up.
You want a beer? Giving a brand a personality
Starts with a name.
Starts with a name. Starts with, of course, knowing what demographic you're trying to attract, and then putting some words together. What is it? Is it cool? Is it hip? Is it cultural? Is it influential? Are you a curator? Put a personality trait together, and then after that you start thinking about what would this person say, what would this brand say, and you'll start putting, say if this, it's trying to say one word, one sentence, and you do it in 5-6 times in different ways, like in a more wittier way, in a more romantic way, and then suddenly something feels right and something hits. Does what fits with what the demographic you're trying to talk to. And then after that, once you develop a tone of voice, you go into visual look and feel. What says all those things?
Let me pull you back in, you all right?
It's hard to talk about my process because I have no process. Okay?
We'll probably edit that out for your clients.
For clients.
That's probably really scary. Well,
Okay.
let me just pick it up.
Okay.
Because I'm reverse engineering your whole process right now. Okay? So you said, let's start with a name. So how do you give brands personality? Start with a name. And you picked LA Downtowner because it gives you a sense of pride. And from the little that I know about writing copy, when you write a headline, it's supposed to be self-selecting, meaning the audience either says that's me or not me. Mm-hmm. So you have to plant your flag somewhere and say, this is what I stand for. Mm-hmm. It's not for the West Sider. I was going to start a newspaper called the Santa Monica West Sider to compete with the LA Downtowner.
Yikes.
Right?
Yeah.
So that means you're either with me or you're not with me, and that's it. So that's great. So names that don't mean anything, like Bubble Bob, that's not going to help you. Start with a name. Mm-hmm. I also like this idea, and you probably don't do it in a formal process, but I will be doing it soon. You try to say something, and you send it through different filters. What is the witty version, the romantic, the sarcastic, the hipster, the ironic hipster? And you try to see how that sounds. Now, you have an example that I love. For Pinkberry, Instead of saying we open from 9 to 5, how did you guys say it?
Swirling daily.
You see, so open 9 to 5 goes through what kind of filter that comes out swirling daily?
The fun, bubbly,
The Yo filter?
energetic. Yeah, I don't know.
Everything gets sent through the Yo filter, and it comes out swirling daily. I love that. Think about this. This is how you start to do branding, you guys. Take every dull, boring thing that they do that sounds like a voice, run it through the brand filters. So in the case of Pinkberry, it's Yo, which is bubbly, fun. What else? What's the other word? Energetic? Bubbly, fun, and energetic. Send it through, right? So instead of saying open, exit, park here, don't do this, don't do that, send it through that filter. So now what I want you guys to do in the audience, everybody that's watching on the internet, is be more cognizant, be more aware of when you're going through a store, look at how they talk to you. Really well-designed hotels are very consistent. So check out like some of my favorites that are out there. I'm not going to mention any brands, but if you go and check them out, you'll see the ones that do it right. Take notice. You can learn a lot from that. All right? Okay, let's move on. I put you enough on the spot on that, yeah? Now, you started a lot of companies. Like almost too many companies. Yeah. You started with your design company, and then you started to launch other companies and be on the board of directors, that kind of thing. Why do you start so many companies? What's wrong with you?
Well, I think for one, I'm the type of person who likes a challenge, and I find I love
like running one design company is not hard enough?
It's hard enough, believe me. But I like different subject matters, and I love creating brands, and I love putting great people together and see the brand become something else, become its own entity. So yeah, I think it's as simple as that. And I think one of the first ones that hit me was seeing how amazing. When I worked with Pinkberry, they had one store, obviously. They had three or four employees when I started with them. At the time when we stopped working with them, they had, I think, over 30 employees, over 200 stores internationally. And it was just so inspiring to see the whole process happen in front of your eyes. After a while, I was just burnt out. And I wasn't doing my best at Ferroconcrete. I wasn't managing fruit well. And so that's a huge mistake, like not understanding your own limitations. As much as you're passionate about it.
So you're spreading yourself too thin?
Spreading myself too thin.
You know how well she learned that lesson? She started 2 more companies. See how well she's a good student.
No, but I did that differently, where there's really good people in place.
I see.
From the beginning, whom I know I'm not so much involved with it. I'm pretty much like, this is where it should go, and have the discussions and like kind of guide it a little bit, but I don't really do the day-to-day stuff.
It's crazy to have brick and mortar in this day and age, because you're dealing with overhead, staff, firing, hiring, HR, you're dealing with lots of stuff, when the future seems to be happening online anyways.
Yep.
Test your idea out there.
Several times in my career, I've had the opportunity to close my practice down and go on the client side. They've asked me to come join them. One happened recently. And I've said no most of the time, or actually no.
All the time.
I've said no all the time. Have you had that same thing happen to you?
Yeah. I actually went through the same experience where a client asked me to shut down the company to join them full-time, become the creative director, and offered me shares in the company. But at the end of the day, I felt it was... I'm the type of person who gets bored working on one brand and one brand only. And so part of the charm for having my own design studio is to work on different subject matter all the time, different brands. And also one of the things that I really, really can't give up is the freedom of owning your own business.
The freedom of the struggle.
The freedom of the struggle. It's like, you walk into work, you work with your favorite people, and there's a sense of ownership and pride, and it's just nothing, no amount of money can buy that, I think.
For me, it's strange that you saw it as either or, that there was no middle ground. And the thing that I want to talk about is just the power of negotiation and understanding that you as a creative human being create a lot of value to the world. And what sickens me now as an entrepreneur who's been doing this for some time is that we just give it away and we never sit to think, the value has been created, give me equity. I have equity in a few companies, and I've helped them, and I've contributed to their growth, and I want a part of that. And so we get into these discussions about, well, how many percentage of your company are you, what you think that this is worth? What are you willing to give me? So you don't have to say it's either this way or that way, right? So I'm just throwing that there.
You should have been my business consultant.
Well, yeah. I'm still available. Call me in your next big deal.
Okay.
And I'm relatively affordable. I only want 20%.
Scary. Scary.
If you do that, do they expect you to remain involved with them over the future as well?
No, it's beautiful.
Okay.
We define a scope of work. We ask for a percentage plus money because I get both. I want money to cover my expenses, and I get equity for the intellectual capital that I'm bringing. And then we're done. I've earned my shares, and I keep doing other things.
Okay.
Right? And if they want more work, great. Let's talk about a retainer on a preferred discounted rate. Everybody wins.
Because
right?
a lot of the companies, when you ask for equity, they want you to like remain involved as their creative director or something like that.
Everything is negotiable. You get to determine what works for you, or you walk. And if you are truly valuable, truly, and not just because you think you're valuable and your mom told you you're valuable, then they would offer it to you because they understand.
Question.
Okay, go ahead, Gabby.
Since you said naming was important to you, how did you come up with the name Ferroconcrete, and what does that mean to you?
Oh, Ferroconcrete was actually a simple story. I was in school. Instructor said, come up with a name for a fake company. And then I came up with Ferroconcrete because I love concrete. And then it also became a metaphor for me because Ferroconcrete means when you put steel beams and then you pour concrete into it. So it's a technology that enables multiple story buildings and bridges. And so it became a metaphor for building brands into skyscrapers. Thank you. So supportive.
He is, he's like mom. He really is. So really what you're talking about is the iron rebar that's inside concrete allows it to be much stronger than it is. So your brand, your identity, is the exterior of the concrete. The rebar is the stuff that allows it to be awesome and strong.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the foundation. I have a philosophy in life. You've heard this before. I said it's to make money doing what I love. So if it's just doing what I love, it's not going to work for me. Just making money, not loving it, not going to work.
Yeah.
That's
So my
the
whole thing is like, I would love for you to redefine what you love.
Redefine what I love.
Yeah, not you specifically, but our audience. Like if you're an image maker, you're a typographer, that's what you love. So you'll make layouts and you'll craft things in Photoshop. That's what you love. What if you were a problem solver? For many years, we describe ourselves as motion designers. So we're only looking for motion design problems to solve. And then my business coach, Kira, said, and if you want to watch that episode, there's a link here, is that he said, well, why do you define yourself like that? You're an image maker. Does anybody need images? Well, everybody needs some kind of image, and you're very good at it. So it started to broaden out. And so the broader I go now, to me, the more valuable I've become, and the happier I've become. But I know I'm like a weird duck in that regard.
No, and it's very true because if you ask me what makes me happy, or what is the thing that I love when I first graduated, I would say making stuff.
Hands-on.
Hands-on.
Pushing pixels.
Creating stuff and seeing it out there. And then if you ask me again 5 years later, it made me happy to start all these businesses. And if you probably ask me 10 years later, what makes me happy is probably, I don't know,
make money.
Taking grandkids to school.
Every time Jose comes on the camera, just cut him out. All right, let's talk to the people. Let's take it to the people on the street, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up.
Is that hard?
Being a leader?
Yeah, being a leader.
Good question, man. Good question.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Hand Jose away.
For me, it isn't because I'm not the kind of person who. It really depends the kind of leader you want to be. I'm the kind who's like, hey, punch you on the shoulder and then like kick your chair. Yeah. But I think my job is to really like inspire the team, get them excited to be at work, and get them excited about the project, work well with each other, and foster discussions, and just be kind of a guide, not the type of like, oh, you're late, come over there. It just depends. But for me, it's pretty natural because I think maybe it's because I'm the oldest kid too. I don't know. But it just comes naturally.
Because you're a Pisces.
Yeah, and I'm already bossy at home anyway.
Wait, who are you bossing at home?
Nobody.
We'll put your, what is that called? Match.com profile at the bottom here.
What
so you
the hell?
It's all about building brands and connecting people. I want to connect Yo. She's a Pisces. She enjoys making things and.
Hey, you're already hindering me from going out tonight. Remember? There was a party tonight that I
but
had
you're
to
sick.
do this.
I save you from a lot of nonsense.
Pisces make great lovers, by the way.
We'll edit that part out. Too. Okay. Who's got the next question? No?
Did you pursue any further education after majoring in graphic design? Did you try to go into business or to try to learn how to manage?
Oh.
So you see, you studied graphic design. How do you know how to run a business? What do you know about marketing or negotiations? Apparently not a lot.
Not a lot.
And all that kind of stuff. How do you
Yeah.
know how to manage people? How do you know how to become a leader? Those are not necessarily skills that they teach you in graphic design for,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But it's those things that you can pick up as you go and learn. And actually, it's not just the outcome. It's about the journey and the experience that makes it fun. And I learn a lot. I've made people cry. I've cried. You know, maybe I was a bad boss one day. I don't know. Probably the alcohol. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. He always give me this
It's your
judgmental
reputation,
look.
not mine.
Hey.
It's your reputation.
Hey, I'm fun. Anyway.
Well, hey, so I would like to jump in there. We don't, as graphic designers or creative people, learn any of the business skills. And I think that puts us at a major deficit. There's this thing in 300, like, okay, I'm going to out myself in terms of the total dork. It's fine. Frank Miller, 300. Leonidas, this young boy, is a Spartan. And the test of becoming a man is to dump you off in the woods with a spear. And you have to survive there. It teaches you a lot. Only the strong make it back. So that's what she's saying. Like, you're on the street, you're learning from real people in real circumstances, and there are real consequences. When you F up, somebody quits. You get fired. You lose money. You go upside down. You go bankrupt. You lose it all. When you're in school, you get a D. Who cares? Nobody cares. And that's why it's like, this is real now. And it's hard. It's a dog-eat-dog world. All right, next question.
Do you have any tips or advice for leading a meeting with a client?
Leading a meeting with a client. Yikes. Your turn.
That's a question for you.
I believe it's addressed to you.
But it's...
How do you do it? How do you do it? It's probably fun to be in meetings with you.
It is.
Well, tips, I always walk in chirpy, always walk in happy. Don't, even if you're in a bad mood. But anyway, I think a lot of the times you walk into a meeting, clients, first of all, they've probably seen your work online. So you might want to show them something in a meeting if you want to go into something more detailed. But it's more about you getting to know them and how much you work together. Can you work together as a team? Do you get what they're saying? So do a lot of listening, and then gut instinct and talking. Reiterate. Okay. Reiterate.
Come on, girl.
But yeah, it's just about chemistry, and then making sure that you sell your work well. And
Did her answer surprise you at all? The person who is all about brands or about personalities and chemistry. Her answer will be, it's all about your brand and your personality.
It is.
I have an answer though.
Yeah,
you gave me
it.
just enough time to think about the answer.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that. We do meetings all the time, and I used to be scared to death about doing the conference call. The fate of your company, yourself, your self-worth, everything hangs on the freaking conference call. Get on the phone, my voice is all shaky, like, what am I gonna do? It's because in my mind there was this narrative I was creating that was killing me, that I need this job. I'm not worthy. They're my masters, and they get to anoint who is good and who is not good. So every word I'm saying, I'm thinking about 4 times before I say it, and then I can't say the word shoulder. You know what I'm saying? So here's the thing. Here's what I want you to think about. You need to go to meetings with extreme self-belief. Confidence is what they call that, right? And confidence is not like, I'm the best, name drop this, I've done this, who are you? That's what I'm talking about. To me, confidence is about being vulnerable and being transparent about who you are. I find this to happen to me, and every once in a while I can check myself. I go in the room and I'm thinking, oh, like, if they only found out that I drove a Toyota, I'll be ruined. So the whole time I'm running around thinking, please don't anybody ask me about Toyota. I start preparing lies about Hondas, whatever it is. I create a whole narrative in my mind. If I just walked in the room, hey everybody, I drive a Toyota, it's out in the open. And I don't give an F if you think that's cool or not. I just don't care. So go into it being transparent. Say whatever it is. You've got a big zit, like I have a zit here. Just like I have a zit, and that's it. And nobody can talk about it anymore. You know, I got a bum leg, I got a bad knee, I got a, you know, whatever. Just own it and be who you are, because that's what's going to give you the confidence, okay? So in your mind, you need to like flip the narrative. You don't need them. You need each other. You're equals at the table. I could do this for you or I can't, and I'll go to the next person. And good luck with whoever you pick. So when you go into that room, and I like to go in completely unprepared. I don't want to know anything about them. I don't do any research, because I find that then I don't jump to any conclusions, right? I don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. And I tell them up front, I don't know anything about you. I just want to learn. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then I'm going to shut up and listen. And I'll take notes, and I'll ask you questions. And that's really refreshing for people. You know, so now I'm endearing myself to them. I'm like, wow, this person isn't going to give me any BS. They're just going to tell me the truth. And people respect that, believe it or not. If you don't, get out. You don't want to work with them anyways. Is that okay? Which answer did you like better? I'm just kidding.
So mean!
Vote below. Okay, anyways. Next question. UCLA coming in strong. Go ahead.
I also have a question for Yo. Could you extend your sort of principles and philosophy on branding a business into branding yourself?
She just told you about Pinkberry. Who does Pinkberry sound a lot like? Yo. Bubbly,
Whoa.
fun, energetic.
Uh-oh, no.
That's her brand, right? She's sitting here talking about wine and beer, and I'm fun, I'm about the artist. That's who she is. So you
So you're
guys
saying
walk away.
Pinkberry as a brand is an extension of Yo?
It is, because it's called what? Fro-Yo. I'm waiting all night. Thank you for setting me up on that one. God. It's called Fro-Yo. It's not called Fro-Do. Fro-Yo. Come on, man. Thank you. Yeah, don't edit that out. I'm here all night, you guys. I'm here all night. 2-drink minimum. Okay? Yeah, you know what? It's funny, if you read all the messaging from Ferroconcrete brands, they sound a lot like Yo.
No.
They do.
No.
They do.
No.
Check it out. They do.
No!
You know, I actually have an article. I'm not trying to plug this, but maybe I am. An article on LinkedIn on understanding your own personal brand. What should you do? You should ask people, what do you think of me?
Yeah.
Remember, it's not about you, it's what they think. So people are going to say things about Chris. What are they going to say about me? Go ahead. What are they going to say about me? Yo.
Mean.
I'm mean. No, it's fine. I'm mean.
No.
Sardonic.
Sardonic. They're going to say things like that. So what you do is you kind of write those words down, and you start to think, this is what people know me as. Do I like that? If I don't, I need to start to change things. We're all capable of change. And the change isn't to please somebody else, it's because I looked in the mirror and I don't like that. I know exactly what my brand is, okay? Sometimes I'm a jerk. That's totally true. Sometimes I can be charming, so I'm a chirk. That's how I do it. I smash those two things in. I might send you a biting comment, but with a little smile on the end, maybe? Or maybe just a jerk, that's fine. All right, there's a question in the back there.
You use your, I guess, graphic design process like design-centered thinking for all of your businesses. So do you think you're approaching all your businesses like a designer first rather than like a CEO, or is there a difference?
That's a really good question. I think the first, especially fruit, the first one, the cookie company, I did think of it as like, what should the brand look like, instead of how much is the product gonna sell for, and who is the market if we open it here. What is it like trying to train employees? So I didn't even think about all that. I didn't have a business plan, and I just went for it with just the brand. And I think that's a really bad thing to do. It was a mistake, but you learn, you know. Now I think you should at least come up with a plan. Like, at least the differences with LA Downtown are before we even started, we actually went to hotels, we went to restaurants and say, first of all, would you carry this magazine? 2, do you see yourself putting ads in this magazine? So we did a mock-up, we asked questions, so we know.
You're prototyping.
Yeah.
And validating. So if you guys go into the software world, it's like 3 words, right? You ideate, validate, and iterate. And you go through that virtuous cycle over and over and over again until you have gold. That's it. Just to challenge the notion that Yo's brands are not Yo, let's talk about fruit a little bit. I love what you do. I really do. But the more I see the way you brand, the more I feel like it's just you talking to me, which is great. I love it. I love it. She has a great high energy brand, something that most brands aspire to become. Fun, approachable, not too serious. That's great, right? So for fruit, I'm not going to get this line right because I'm not a writer, but it's something like this, where you say, good cookies get milk, great cookies deserve champagne. Something like that.
Something like that.
Doesn't that sound like yo? That's not going to come from me because I don't drink. But that's what I mean. It's like it is a reflection of
Some
her.
cookies are good with milk. Others demand champagne.
Demand. See? Demand.
No, I
The
didn't-
words
I
matter.
didn't-
Those are beautiful words,
I
right?
have writers who write that though.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not questioning your process. And for my client, it's boosting the bottom line. See? All right, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I would like to give a round of applause to Yo for being here.
Thank you.
Very much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having
All right. Oh my God, somebody's slow. All right, thanks.
me. Whoa, that was
you?
hot.
Was it hot? Was it hot? Stop it like it's hot.
I did.
Hold on. He's gonna go up your skirt.